I have just returned from Pakistan, where I looked through a window into the future. A future of permanent and ubiquitous climate chaos on an unimaginable scale. Devastating loss of life, enormous human suffering, and massive damage to infrastructure and livelihoods. It is simply heartbreaking. The flooded area is 3 times the size of my entire country, Portugal. And what is happening in Pakistan demonstrates the sheer inadequacy of the global response to the climate crisis and the betrayal and injustice at the heart of it. Whether it is Pakistan, the Horn of Africa, the Sahel, small islands, or least developed countries, the world's most vulnerable, who did nothing to cause this crisis, are paying a horrific price for decades of intransigence by big emitters. G20 countries are responsible for 80% of emissions. All countries, with the G20 leading the way, must boost their national emissions reduction and must limit the world's temperature rise to 1.5 degrees. So my message to world leaders gathering here is clear. Lower the temperature now. Don't flood the world today. Don't drown it tomorrow. Pakistani people are facing a monsoon on steroids, the relentless impact of epochal levels of rain and flooding. I've seen many humanitarian disasters in the world, but I have never seen climate carnage on this scale. I have simply no words to describe what I've seen today. Pakistan needs massive financial support to respond to this crisis that have costed, according to some estimates I've heard today, about $30 billion and counting.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Ambassador of Pakistan to China, Dr. Wang Hoyao, President of the Center for China and Globalization, Dr. Mabel Yang, Secretary General of the Center for China and Globalization and founder of the Global Young Leaders Dialogue, other distinguished guests, and our friends, participants, scholars, and most importantly, our young leaders who have joined us today to once again express that we are together in solidarity with Pakistan in this difficult period, and we are ready to hold the Global Young Leaders Dialogue for climate change, but most importantly, climate action. We at GYLD believe that young people are not only the future, but also the present. And here with our distinguished guests and support from the Resident Coordinator Office of the United Nations, China, from UNESCO, from UNHCR, INBAR, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, ICRC, China Biodiversity and Green Development Foundation, and other partners present here today. We are here to show that young people have been inspired by your work, by your contributions, and your presence here gives us the confidence and the basis to understand that we are truly in a position to make a difference. So without further ado, let's begin our event. I would like to warmly welcome His Excellency, Ambassador Moinul Haq, Ambassador of Pakistan to China, for welcoming remarks.
Dr. Henry Wong, President of Center for China and Globalization, Dr. Mabel Yang, Secretary General of CCG and of course, founder of the Global Young Leaders Dialogue, Mr. Mano Lupek, UNHCR representative in China, Ms. Gazilia Kohli, Deputy Head of ICRC Delegation in China, Mr. Ali Machino, Director General of INBAR, Mr. Zhao Jinfeng, the Secretary General of China Biodiversity and Green Development Foundation, Global Youth Leaders Dialogue Team, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. A very warm welcome to all of you at the Pakistan Embassy. At the onset, I would like to express our deep gratitude to Dr. Henry and Ms. Mabel, the Secretary General and the founder of GYLD, and their very talented, able team for collaborating with the Pakistan Embassy to organize today's very important event. I would also like to thank this young lady, Zoon, and Ms. John Zhao, and my own colleague Rabia, who have been working very hard behind the scenes all these last few days to successfully put together this very important program. And of course, all the speakers today for taking their time to be here with us. I would also like to acknowledge the contributions by Mr. Siddharth Chatterjee, the UN coordinator here, and Professor Shabazz Khan, the head of UNESCO, who could not attend in person, but were thoughtful enough to send their video messages, which will be played later. Of course, I would also acknowledge our young panelists from GYLD for their interest in the climate catastrophe being faced by my country. And it is my immense pleasure to host you all in the embassy today. Ladies and gentlemen, forums like today are vital in aspiring and mobilizing thought leaders on shared contemporary challenges such as climate change and environmental degradation. Climate change is on us. It is not a distant reality. We are living it. The real dangers of climate change have now started unraveling and are overwhelming the ability of both nature and humanity to adapt. We are seeing a harrowing future in which floods, fires, and famine could displace millions and can cause irreversible damage to our planet. One of the most recent and living examples are the floods in Pakistan. It has been hit, my country has been hit by one of the worst and unprecedented climate catastrophe. More than 33 million people have been affected, lost over 1,500 precious lives, and our initial estimate of economic losses and infrastructure and crops is close to $30 billion. Climate chaos, climate carnage, climate crisis, climate catastrophe, and monsoon on steroids. These are some of the terminologies which are used by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to describe the devastating floods in Pakistan. After visiting the flood-hit areas in his recent visit to Pakistan, he said that he had never seen climate-related destruction on such a large scale. These floods have deluged almost 1/3 of Pakistan, which is an area equal to Great Britain, washed away roads and bridges, damaged schools, and destroyed standing crops and livestock. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, as I mentioned earlier, is a real manifestation of the loss and the destruction that climate change can cause to our lives. Indeed, it is a strong message to those who are skeptics of climate change, a stark reminder to the world community about our failures, and a clarion call for action. What is rather unfortunate that despite being a low carbon emitter, Pakistan has been one of those countries which are the most vulnerable and most affected by climate change. So I think the international thought leaders, many people around the world are not talking about climate injustice that has to be addressed somehow. We are grateful to international community for their solidarity and generous support to Pakistan and Pakistani people in these difficult times. We are especially grateful to the government and the people of China for their exceptional support, which has been extraordinary for the last few weeks. Keeping up with the tradition of goodwill and solidarity, China has been one of the leading partners of Pakistan in this difficult time. President Xi Jinping, Premier Li, and State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi had all had expressed and sent messages of condolences and solidarity to their Pakistani counterparts. We are also seeing a continuous outpouring of sympathy and support from various factions of the Chinese society, including by the leadership of local and provincial governments, enterprises, and common people. This is, of course, very touching and moving, as I was mentioning to my colleague in the meeting room, that on a daily basis we are receiving donations to our account, which we have set up for this. Even young children are donating their pocket monies, or the whole year pocket monies. People are donating their whole salaries. This is very touching. We have been, many occasions have been reminded what Pakistan had done for the people of China in different difficult times like earthquake in Sichuan or pandemic. That was our duty. But what the people of China and the government of China is doing now is something very exceptional, and we can never repay that, and we can never forget that. UN is of course another major partner, as was evident by the visit of the Secretary General to Pakistan. Speaking to the media during his recent visit, UN Secretary General said, and I quote, "I am not asking for solidarity or generosity. I am asking for justice. This is a global crisis which needs and demands a global response. And with the support of UN, we have launched an international flash appeal for fighting the floods and to rebuild and reconstruct the damaged areas and infrastructure. Pakistan too stands ready to collaborate with the international community as we move forward and work together for addressing the climate change. Recently in New York, our foreign minister proposed a number of actions for addressing the issue of climate change at the global level, including in the context of the forthcoming COP27 in Egypt and Sharm el-Sheikh. And he has called for a green Marshall Plan as well to assist and support the most climate vulnerable countries. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would say that your views and deliberations today would certainly bring a new focus to the pressing challenge of climate change, which we of course need to address collectively. Today it is Pakistan, tomorrow it could be another country. Let us join hands to save our planet and to save our future generations. I wish this event a complete success. I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Indeed, this is a time to exhibit global solidarity because the issue of climate change is across countries, cultures, and continents. And it would be also a pleasure for me to let everyone here know that our panel, the GYLD panel later today, is from 7 different nationalities across the world, and we are all here because we care for the one cause that affects us. So thank you so much for your remarks, and we hope to continue to contribute. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Wang Huiyao, President of the Center for China and Globalization, for his welcome remarks.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Maureen Haq, and also Mr. Vernon Norton, Minister representative in China, and also Ali Mochon, Director General of INDAR, and Ambassador Sali Khan, Deputy General Secretary of SCO, and of course also Brother Lizzie Prissy, Deputy Head of the Regional Division of East Asia ICRC. So, of course, my old friend Dr. Jin Feng, Secretary General, China Biodiversity and Green Development. And also Mr. Chen Guo-Qin, Deputy General of Sino-Con. But it's really a great honor for us to gather here, and we are very pleased to co-host this great event. It's very timely to, as Ambassador just mentioned, we focus on the climate change and also the issues already that has been seen, that has created a devastating impact in many regions of the world. And we want to express our deepest sympathy and solidarity and solitude for the people affected in our own brother of Pakistan. So looking back in the history, the reason why human beings have been able to survive and develop is that on Earth, because we have a natural environment on which the Earth depends. So we have to really respect our sunlight, our air and water, and our environment surrounding us. So I think that even though the Industrial Revolution has taken place in many parts of the world, the human activities have also profoundly changed the environment on which we depend. So some changes have begun to endanger humanity itself. And at present, climate change is the largest non-traditional security threat that facing mankind. So we see this great evidence what has been happened in Pakistan. So as I'm president of this flood in Pakistan, strengthening the international cooperation on climate change is a matter of uttermost urgency. But we must commit to the principle of common, but also differentiate and also have different responsibilities. Many developing countries like Pakistan have a small carbon footprint, but affects more by climate change like we have just witnessed. So it's not fair. So recently, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres have urged the Assembly leaders, particularly the G20's leaders, to act at just concluded the UN General Assembly. So I think this is very important. Of course, China, as the largest developing country in the world, attaches great importance to this importance of climate change. So in the past 10 years, China has adopted a number of policies, measures to tackle the climate change and take part in the global climate change governance. Also, despite the differences, the difficulties that it creates for its own economy and the social development. And those has really achieved. Just look at what has happened in Beijing. I mean, many years ago, it was really smoke-plagued city. Now we have a clear sky, better than ever before. So, at the general debate of the 75th section of the United Nations General Assembly on September 2020, President Xi actually announced that China would scale up its by adopting more vigorous policies and measures, strive to peak carbon neutrality by emission before 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality before 2016. So that's really a big a step for China to support the developing countries and also to really raise the standards on the China itself. So as Center for China Globalization, as a non-government think tank, we are very pleased to help launching this global young leader dialogue, but also we are actively promoting the climate change in our own way. For example, we have just at the end of the Earth Day last year, we held a seminar on climate change, a common challenge for humanity and addressing climate change, China's opportunities and challenges. And this year again, we have collaborated with the UN Women on gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow, symposium on biodiversity and climate change from a gender perspective. We have invited ambassadors, experts, scholars, officials from various countries to jointly offer advice and suggestions on the current crisis facing human society. So in June, I also had a very in-depth conversation with Hank Paulson, the founder of the Paulson Foundation, about climate action that US-China can work together to this objective. So again, I think today's event is really a very timely event, and we are very pleased with the great support of with Ambassador Haki. We had so many international organizations, officials, experts, and also our media friends and think tank scholars participate, and our young leaders. And as Zhu mentioned, we have 7 countries represented here to show our support, but also show our concern and how this climate change affecting all of us. And this time, we have great sympathy with what has happened in Pakistan. So we hope that we can propose some good recommendations and we can work together towards that objective. As we say in China, when people put together, nothing is too heavy to be lifted. So climate change poses present and imminent challenges, not only in the long term, but also in the short term. It's happening now. So we believe that as long as we unite and we set aside our differences and we work together with mutual support and assistance, particularly event like this, we are really promoting the common narrative, common understanding, and we are facing the common challenge, and we meet them together with unity and of course solidarity. So again, I want to thank the Ambassador Haki, but also the Embassy of Pakistan, the staff, and also the GYLD program team, and also all the experts, representatives coming this afternoon, and to really share your great views. Thank you very much.
So much, Dr. Wang. Indeed, the Center for China and Globalization has always promoted shared values, communication, commitment to everything that we share in common, especially increased globalization, and to encourage others to understand that we need to address the issues together. So thank you. And also especially when you mentioned Beijing's own experience, how much has transformed. I think it is really platforms like CCG that can help others understand this journey even more effectively. Thank you. Now, let's warmly welcome Dr. Mabel Miao, Secretary General of the Center for China and Globalization and founder of the Global Young Leaders Dialogue, for welcoming remarks. Welcome.
Your Excellency, Mr. Moyo Hek, distinguished guests, talented young friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome you to today's event in solidarity with Pakistan, GYLD for Climate Change and Action, jointly hosted by the Pakistan Embassy, CCG, and Global Young Leaders Dialogue. I am Mabel Miao, Secretary General of the Center for China and Globalization and founder of GYLD. Now, Beijing is experiencing its best season. The temperature is comfortable, everyone feels that. But many parts of the world are facing extreme weather. As we just see from this video, the flood in Pakistan creates huge damage to people's living and infrastructure. In the 21st century, the fate of the world is closely linked. These climate change disasters will not end in Pakistan. Like UN Secretary General Guterres visited Pakistan after the recent flood and appealed to the world. Today is in Pakistan. Tomorrow it could be happening in your country. So we need to stand in solidarity with Pakistan and make some differences. In the past, through our efforts, we have achieved valuable achievements in cooperation. Under the Paris Agreement, mankind has embarked on the road of saving the Earth, and now it is time to act quickly. The change and upheaval in the world require young people to master ability to observe global development, engage in dialogue with the world, participate deeply in global governance, and shoulder the mission of the times. This is extremely what our GYLD program advocates. GYLD aims to build platforms for communication and emphasize shared value, such as open and equal dialogues, intellectual exchange, inclusive and mutual learning. We are looking forward to the voices of youth from all over the world to save our Earth, to save our future, make the flood into spring, storm into a breeze. Today's event is our first stop of GYLD Meetup series for global governance. Participants could know the first-hand information and insightful views from the diplomats, international organization representatives, and professional scholars. We also want this series events could provoke young people's creative ideas and constructive suggestions on these global issues, encourage more people to participate to action. In addition, I want to use this great opportunity to invite you to join GYLD Annual Forum 2022, scheduled on December 3rd. We will invite political figures and industry experts from all over the world to exchange views on international issues. Meanwhile, we will also invite young people to express their views on emerging international issues, such as innovation, green, and development. So far, we have received greetings, letters from heads of some states and international organizations. We also hope we can have the honor to receive greetings from our Iron brother, Pakistan. Finally, on behalf of GYD program, I would like to thank the Embassy of Pakistan, especially our ambassador, for great support to this event. Once again, I would like to welcome all of our friends, all of you, and look forward to the fruitful thinking today. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mabel Miao. Indeed, the Global Young Leaders Dialogue is a trendsetter. It's helping us envision our shared existence through shared experiences, and we here represent a room of people that care about our shared future. So we look forward to the annual event as well. We look forward to more opportunities to participate and to enhance the global voice effectively. So thank you. Now I would like to invite Dr. Mabel Miao and His Excellency Ambassador Moinul Haq for us to officially launch our new initiative, the Global Young Leaders Dialogue Meetup for Global Governance. Please, welcome. Dr. Mabel. Thank you so much. We look forward to this serving as marking a new beginning for the Global Young Leaders Dialogue, learning firsthand from experts from places that have been affected, and making sure that young people, their voices, their ideas, and their solutions are well heard. Thank you so much. Now, without further ado, we move to the keynote section of today's event, and I would like to invite two of my friends, colleagues who have helped organize this activity as well. Let me first welcome Mr. John Chow, GYLD Program Manager, and Ms. Rabia Nasir from the Embassy of Pakistan, who will be leading from here on. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoom. We are very grateful for all the keynote speakers and for all the attendance that we have received today. This shows that climate change is real and it's time to act now. And what's more heartening is the presence of so many different cultures, so many different countries in today's gathering. This shows our common cause, our solidarity for proactive climate action.
Yeah, the climate change definitely, not only affects Pakistan, in Japan, in South America, we know all, facing extreme weathers. So I think it's really meaningful for today, for this moment, we can bring all, all together people to discuss these issues, and as Gudri said, we need to act now.
So just formally begin the keynote section of today's event. We will begin with the remarks of Mr. Siddharth Chatterjee, UN Resident Coordinator in China, who could not come physically but was thoughtful enough to send his remarks. So let's first see what he has to say.
Please.
Your Excellency, Mr. Moinul Haq, Ambassador of Pakistan to China, Your Excellency, Mr. Shah Zhukang, President of the China-Pakistan Friendship Association and a former Under-Secretary General of the United Nations, Department of Economic and Social Affairs, my brother Henry Wang, President of the Center for China and Globalization, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I thank the Embassy of Pakistan, in China and the Center for China and Globalization for this invitation to address the forum on solidarity with Pakistan, the Global Young Leaders Dialogue for Climate Change and Action. Climate change is a grave and mounting threat to our well-being and a healthy planet. From shifting weather patterns that threaten food production to rising sea levels that increase the risk of catastrophic flooding, the impact of climate change are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. Historically, the world's richest nations bear the most responsibility for climate change, yet the adverse effects for having the first effects of it are first felt by the most vulnerable people in the poorest countries. Although contributing to less than 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions, Pakistan is consistently ranked amongst the 10 most vulnerable countries to the effects of climate change. The recent torrential monsoon rains triggered the most severe flooding in Pakistan's history, and the people of Pakistan are living through the world's worst climate nightmare. According to the latest reports released by the United Nations Office of the Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, the number of damaged and destroyed houses exceeded 2 million. Around 23,900 schools, 1,460 health facilities, 13,000 kilometers of roads have been reportedly damaged. Some 7.9 million people are displaced as a result of the heavy rains and floods. This, ladies and gentlemen, is without precedent. Climate change has increased levels of uncertainty about our future. Amid this uncertainty, one thing is certain. It is this planet that we have to leave to our children, young people, and future generations. Young people today constitute the majority of the population in many countries and have an increasingly strong social and environmental awareness, which has the power to transform our societies towards a low carbon and a climate resilient future. Beyond mere victims of climate change, they are in fact valuable contributors to climate action as agents of change, entrepreneurs, and innovators. I firmly believe that young people across the globe can join hands to create a more sustainable, greener world for all. Their actions should inspire all of us to join them. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change is a global emergency that goes beyond national borders. It is an issue that requires international cooperation and coordinated solutions at all levels. Without action, we are fast-tracking a global climate catastrophe. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on the international community to work together to respond quickly and collaboratively to the crisis in Pakistan caused by floods. He urged, and I quote, "Let's stop sleepwalking towards the destruction of our planet by climate change. Today it's Pakistan, tomorrow it could be your country," end of quote. With less than 8 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in this decade of action, there is no time to waste in the face of undeniable impact of man-made climate change. We need to call on all parties to redouble efforts to safeguard our planet for present and future generations. Our actions today will shape how people adapt and nature responds to increasing climate risks. Now is the time to save us all from a climate crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, people in Pakistan deserve climate justice, international solidarity, and support of all countries to assist Pakistan in its path to recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King, for sending this video to us. Yeah, and as you may know, in the next few months, the COP27 will be held in Egypt. So that will be also a very important moment for the humankind to cope with climate change. Okay, so the next I want to introduce the Professor Shahbaz Khan, the resident coordinator of UNESCO to China, and he also a Pakistani. So let's appreciate.
Your Excellency, Ambassador of Pakistan, dear CCG, GYLD colleagues, Thank you very much for organizing this timely forum. Let me share some slides with you to give some of the ideas from UNESCO and personally what are the perspectives for floods in Pakistan and how can we be more smarter. Flood management has been a special topic in my life as a professional in water and environment, and especially how we build capacity, how do we provide early warning to people. So let me share some slides with you on the related ideas. First of all, 2010 floods were very bad in the history of Pakistan. If you know Pakistan, this is Pakistan's Indus River Basin system. So you can see here a number of these lines are those rivers joining together as the Indus River. And also, of course, these rivers are linked with Khyber Pakhtunkhwa here with the Kabul River and you know Gilgit-Baltistan area and the areas what we call Balochistan, and here is Punjab and of course lower part of Sindh. So in 2010 it was really very unusual kind of flood because the floods came normally before to either the Ravi or Sutlej or they came to Jhelum, but they shifted to Indus upper catchment. That was like a climate shift, very big floods within a short period of time, and that caused major problem to dams like Karbela, and also the flooding was immense along the Kabul River. So that continued through the system. And it was one of the big problems for the lower part of the basin as well, because many people got under floods, and that really created huge problems. But this time the floods are not similar to 2010 floods. These floods are not like 1990s or 1980s floods. So this time the floods have come more in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in Balochistan, and in lower Sindh area. And the situation after the floods, August 31, 2022 to 25 of September, they show the water is still there for a very long period of time, and it will stay for longer. It is causing diseases. It has caused major problems with people's life. More than 1,000 people have lost their lives. So what are the reasons? Is it climate change, or is it the mismanagement, or what is going on? As a scientist, I have a theory that now Pakistan is feeling a climate shift, which is combined with climate change as well as with seasonal aspects of how the weather systems are developing. So as I said before either the floods were coming on the Ravi and Sutlej system, Ravi and Sutlej rivers, or they were coming on the Jhelum. And we could track them from the Bay of Bengal as they came all the way over. So this time, the Indian Ocean temperatures have been very high. So once the temperatures in the ocean are high, there would be more evaporation. And then the inland temperatures with the heat wave, they were very high. This created pressure lows over parts of the catchment, especially over Balochistan. So they attracted those systems towards Balochistan and to upper parts of the Kabul River. Also, very importantly, with the higher temperatures, there has been melting of snow and the bigger challenges from the glacier lake outbursts as well. So as we say, glacial lakes outburst flows, GLOFs. This time there were 16 GLOFs, or more than 16, as we say. And normally there are not more than 4 or 5 of those outbursts. So temperature is very high, glacier outflow, as well as rainfall, which was 300 to, in many cases, almost 700 times more than the August rainfalls. And you can imagine with these Balochistan hill torrents, as we call them, they're very steep and the water comes very fast. And then in the Indus, it's very flat. River Indus became like a huge wide lake everywhere, 100 kilometers wide, you can imagine. And if you have to go from one side to the other, you can imagine how difficult it is. So people are still flooded and they have huge problems. So what's going on is the heat wave phenomena is becoming more and more intense. This is not one-off. So after 2010, this is 2022. So within a very short period of time, we have even a worse phenomena than 2010. So the climate change is a reality. Deforestation is a big problem, which is causing more and more local heat waves, as well as the steeper flows, the faster flows, and then the floodplains have been encroached, so it's very difficult for water to go anywhere. Drainage systems are extremely inefficient, like the Manchar Lake cannot take water out of there. So how do we manage? So with climate change, we know it's already a big reality. And also, we know the heat wave is a big factor now. The deforestation is one of the fastest rates in the world. So we need a range of actions to help solve this problem. By the way, these boundaries show the work I did by developing a model with the government of Japan and with institutions in Pakistan. It's called IFAS system, Integrated Flood Analysis System, and rainfall runoff models. Today, I spoke to the Japanese Ministries for Land and Infrastructure for further support for Pakistan to solve the issues related to these hill torrents and also better understanding of the glacial outflows and how we can bring science. And of course, with a number of scientists in China, we are also talking to them about the data, GIS and remote sensing, and also how can we help build better forecasting and better management system. But we also need to train local people, local communities to understand how they can protect themselves. And also reforestation, very, very critical and important. So UNESCO has been working on disaster risk reduction and the science for disaster risk reduction within a number of initiatives linked with the oceans, links with the water. We have the International Oceanographic Commission, Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, as we say, Intergovernmental Hydrological Program. And we also are working on biodiversity and the climate change initiative linked with local indigenous knowledge. And of course, the SDGs are very critical in this regard. Now, with the serious impacts of flood, SDGs have been reversed. And I would say in Pakistan, we have to deal with extreme poverty and related impacts related to health, related to jobs, and also linked to more with international cooperation. And Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction is very critical. UNESCO issues every year a number of reports about water management, World Water Development Report. We also have a science report, a culture report, and many of the aspects related to capacity building of local stakeholders we have been developing. So in the area of water, in the area of flood management, we are working on what we call IHP, Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, Phase 9 from this year to 2029. And we are looking into disaster prevention as a major area. Also gender equality, food security, and preservation of ecosystems. We have a number of publications in Asia Pacific, which was led by me before, and I'm pushing for those ideas now. Flood hazard mapping is a big area. Dam evaporation, another very important area. So helping build capacity. We have the materials. We need to link more with forums like yours and with the universities like Tsinghua and others to help build local capacity with the universities in Pakistan, like the National University of Science and Technology, and in Balochistan, like Vilas Bela University. Also at the Asia Pacific level, we are working on open science as part of the Asia Pacific Water Summit held by Japanese government. And this is an important area for data observation, modeling, and model integration. So hopefully we can take leadership from young people in this area. Also, we are facilitating the professionals to provide scientific and indigenous knowledge, and also interdisciplinary approaches, bringing water people, economics people, people from social sciences. So in this area, there will be further follow-ups with the governments, including Pakistan. UNESCO is working on integrated water resource management. water resource education. In China, we have a very important sediment transport center with Institute for Water and Hydraulic Research working on the debris flows and sediment fluxes. This was a major challenge during this flood in Pakistan. Also in Korea, we have an integrated water resource management center. So while I'm away from China, I'm talking to the centers in Korea and in Japan. ICHAM is our center about hazard management. Tomorrow I will be giving a lecture at a UNESCO chair in Kyoto University, which is dealing with disasters and environment. So we need young people to work with the professors and their universities and create linkages with the universities and young people in Pakistan. Also, innovation by linking society and the water managers together. So in this regard, our work related to large rivers can easily link with the Yellow River, Yangtze River, Indus River, and how can we share methodologies for management of hydropower as well as for management of sediments. Also links between science and society, and especially working on the area of gender and water awareness, water education. So in summary, with the limited time, I would like to say some of these actions can be practical actions, and many of you can contribute. So situation analysis of what has happened in Pakistan, how climate change is impacting Pakistan, and the hydrology, the meteorology, the hydrometeorology, and engineering analysis of floods. This is something I am promoting, and we will be able to undertake, and I will invite you to work with us, with the bodies in Pakistan like Federal Flood Commission, Water and Power Development Authority, Pakistan Meteorology Department, Provincial Disaster Management Authorities, Pakistan Council for Water Resources Research, SPARCO. There can be more data which can be provided from China and more expertise in debris flows, for example, from centers with the IWHR. Also looking into how can we assess the impact on lower Indus. That's a very big challenge because very flat terrain, water is not draining away. How can we help local people to find the drainage management mechanisms, especially for lakes like Lake Manchar and the environmental impacts which are lasting, but also link with the coastal tidal systems as well. Also, very importantly, how can we continue to operate the forecasting and warning by integrating different sources of data and building capacity for multi-hazards. Pakistan is a country with many types of disasters like earthquakes and floods and also tsunamis in the past. So how can we integrate these different kind of flood, drought, earthquake kind of challenges to find management solutions together? With that, I thank you for inviting me, and I really look forward to follow up the recommendations from your forum. Have a wonderful forum.
We have seen how floods and climate change are impacting our planet and especially the vulnerable countries like Pakistan. So what's particular about climate change is that we have a new concept of climate refugees that have led to a new kind of humanitarian crisis, and for this purpose, UNHCR definitely has a very important role to play in lending us their expertise on how we can fight this new concept of climate refugees and help them in better rehabilitating their life. So in that respect, I'll now like to invite Mr. Vanu Nopesh from the UNHCR to share his expertise on the topic. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Ambassador of Pakistan, on behalf of Dr. Wang, President of the CCG, Dr. Miao, Secretary General of the CCG, distinguished participants, dear friends. I'm honored to have the opportunity to address you today on behalf of UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency. Pakistan has generously hosted millions of refugees for over 40 years. Now Pakistan is suffering from a devastating, unprecedented disaster nearly 8 million people have been displaced by the flood in Pakistan. Around 800,000 refugees are hosted in more than 40 of the worst affected districts. This disaster is an example of the growing and disproportionate impact of the climate emergency on the most vulnerable communities, in particular those who are displaced and their homes. The emergency in Pakistan also vividly highlights how natural disaster can drive displacement, in addition to making life harder for those who have already been forced to flee. UNHCR has been able to contribute to the government-led response immediately since the outset, based on our stockpile of humanitarian relief supply within Pakistan, and by rapidly transferring more from our regional and global stockpile via more than 20 airlifts. So far, UNHCR has delivered nearly 1 million core relief items to the authorities for distribution. UNHCR is also coordinating among partners to mainstream protection and ensure inclusion of refugees in the response, addressing needs such as psychosocial support, children separated from their families and lost documentation. Alongside other UN agencies, UNHCR is prioritizing ensuring access to education for children to provide stability, security, and physical and psychosocial protection. Already, education was disrupted by COVID-19. Now the flood have disrupted learning for some 30,000 refugees and host community children in Pakistan. The Chinese private sector has also responded generously to support humanitarian assistance in Pakistan. They have received donations from companies like Xiaomi, and I'm delighted to speak today alongside CBCGDF Secretary General Mr. Zhu Xinfeng today. Through our existing partnership with China Biodiversity Conservation and Green Development Foundation for green energy in Pakistan, UNHCR has been mobilizing private sector resources to provide refugees and their host community with clean water and clean and green energy. We are now leveraging our campaign to further raise awareness and support, and we hope our effort towards sustainability and resilience in displacement setting will help mitigate and reduce the severity of disasters like this in the future. In the past 6 years, with the support of Pakistani government, Chinese government has worked with UNHCR to provide education and health support to refugees and host communities in Pakistan. Given the ever-growing compounding effects of climate and displacement, we very much look forward to expanding our partnership with Chinese government to meet humanitarian needs of refugees and host community on the ground. There is no more urgent moment for the international community to step up to support Pakistan, its people and refugees who have been welcomed and hosted by them, to ensure that no one is left behind on humanitarian response to the flood disaster. We see through the situation in Pakistan as well as the drought emergency in the Horn of Africa that displaced people are on the front line of the climate emergency and disaster is already striking. UNHCR has also been stepping up our climate action by appointing a special advisor to drive our engagement and global advocacy. UNHCR is working on law and policy related to protection of refugees and other people displaced in the context of disaster and climate change, incorporating climate and environmental consideration into our operation, including promoting clean energy and reforestation, as well as reducing our own environmental footprint. I'm delighted to be joining this group of global young leaders here today to listen and exchange on how young people can contribute to making our aspiration to address climate change and forced displacement reality. Young leaders such as yourself are essential to finding urgent and sustainable solutions. To conclude my remark, I would like to show you a very short video clip on our emergency response in Pakistan. Thank you for your attention.
我在国内的学生，我的观点，此刻我 自6月中旬以来，前所未有的暴雨和洪水席卷巴基斯坦，已有8000万人受到了影响，数百万人的生活遭到摧毁，1300多人在这次灾难中失去了生命，640万人急需人道主义援助。作为联合国应对行动的一部分，联合国难民署正在实地分发救援物资。我们正在努力让人们以更安全、有尊严的方式获得帮助和保护。我们已向5万户家庭调动了120万件救生用品，其中超过半数已交付分发。我们也同其他联合国机构、政府以及合作伙伴一道，启动了一项联合洪灾响应计划。初步计划是向520万人提供1.6亿美元的救助。与此同时，我们也向受洪灾影响的社区提供急需的建筑材料和家居用品，并加扩大规模。但这还远远不够，巴基斯坦还需要更多的帮助。我们期待您持续的关注和支持。
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vano, and thank you for this video. And I think it's very impressive. Is UNHCR want to make people receive the help with dignity. You know, I think it's really care to the details and care to the people, not physically and mentally. Yeah, I think it's very important. So next, with further ado, I want to invite the Mr. Ali Machour, the Director General of IBAR, please.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Haq, Ambassador of Pakistan to China. Your Excellency, Henry Wang, President of the Center for China and Globalization. The Center for China and Globalization and founder of the Global Youth Leaders Dialogue. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, colleagues, leaders of the UN agencies and international organizations present. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First and foremost, I would like to thank the organizers for the opportunity to participate in this timely discussion on the relevant and important issue of climate change. At the outset, let me express our deep sympathies to the people of Pakistan on the human and material loss as a result of the unprecedented flooding that has taken place this year. The severity of the crisis has gripped the world and heightened the urgency of confronting climate change. Tackling climate change, therefore, should be our top priority globally. It's now more important than ever to marshal human will and thought to address the impact of climate change. Our role at INBA is to use bamboo as an effective instrument to address climate change. And for those who don't know, INBA is an international intergovernmental development agency that promotes environmentally sustainable development using bamboo and rattan. Currently, INBA has 49 member states, and I'm happy to say that Pakistan is one of the latest comers to the organization. In addition to the Secretariat here in Beijing, we have regional offices in Cameroon, Ecuador, Ethiopia, Ghana, and India. Bamboo can provide a nature-based solution to a number of global challenges, particularly in the context of climate change. Bamboo can contribute to both mitigating climate change as well as adapting to build resilience against climate change. For mitigation, bamboo is one of the fast-growing plants in the world, and studies have shown that it can sequester carbon more efficiently than most other fast-growing trees. And with the technological innovation, durable bamboo products are made with low carbon materials and can store carbon for decades to come. In adaptation and building resilience, bamboo and rattan can help communities and individuals adapt to the negative impacts of climate change. It's an excellent building material, for instance, suitable for building flood or earthquake-resistant housing, and at the same time, it is suitable for rapidly building temporary shelters, like in the case of St. Lake. Bamboo is a climate-resilient crop. It can provide on-farm and off-farm livelihoods and income for communities, and because it grows fast, it can help households to bounce back from disaster with the wide products and enterprise application. Its extensive canopy and underground root system provide many ecosystem services, like rain interception, soil erosion, increasing water recharge, increasing post-monsoonal flow, protecting riverbanks and lake shores from erosion, and more than that. It can rehabilitate degraded soil, and it can also prevent desertification and other low-onset impacts on climate change while enhancing soil and agricultural systems. To wield bamboo as an effective tool against the impacts of climate change, specific strategies and actions could be undertaken, especially with countries which can grow bamboo, including Pakistan. First and foremost, of course, the resource-based should be strengthened. And that is why one of the major functions and roles of INBAS is to assist member countries to develop a bamboo sector so that to use it as an instrument against climate change and the environmental degradation issues. Of course, such strategies will include support for sector development, which should be specific to the levels of development, and that we should, of course, build capacities for all actors across the value chain, including creating the market demand, which could provide income to countries and those people in the rural areas make use of growing bamboo to affect their own lives. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I would like to reiterate the more promising message of bamboo in providing opportunities to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Let us join hands and use this plant to become better stewards of our earth and leave the world healthier for our children. At this moment, India stands hand in hand with Pakistan and sends its thoughts and prayers to the people of Pakistan. And as one of the member countries of our organization, we do expect and hope to work very closely with Pakistan in the near future on how to develop the bamboo sector in this country. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Director General. Pakistan has recently joined NBAR, and we really value our partnership with NBAR, the NBAR Secretariat, and the team of NBAR team in collaborating with Pakistan closely in developing a plan on how Pakistan can develop its bamboo resource. And now, in the wake of the recent floods, for the sake of soil conservation and sustainable development, it's more important than ever, and we definitely look forward to coordinate very closely with you and your team. We're very grateful for that. For the next speaker, Ambassador, His Excellency Ambassador Moin Haq would like to introduce and invite him himself. So please, sir.
I thought I should give an address to our two moderators, and I would like to introduce our next speaker, who is my dear colleague, senior colleague, because he retired before me. Ambassador Sohail Khan. I started our career together. We are batchmates. Of course, he took a pass, but different because of his Russian expertise. He was sent to Moscow, and then we forgot about him. And he stayed there for 10 or 12 years. No ambassador wanted to leave him because he's a better Russian speaker than a native Russian. And then, of course, his last two postings were as ambassador in Thailand and in South Africa. And now he has joined as Deputy Secretary General in SCO, looking after economic affairs, and I'm sure climate change will be an important part of that. So, Ambassador Sohail Khan, the floor is yours.
That's for Moinullah. Thank you very much for your gracious introduction. Wang and Ms. Mehbul from CCG and Mr. Ali from Inbar, Director Inbar, representative from the UNHCR, and Madame Dresser from ICRC, whom I recently met at about the preliminary conference. It's a great pleasure to be here among my colleagues back to the future or future to past. I don't know what to say here. So it's great to be here in this hall because I came here in 2018 along with my other colleagues from different groups of Pakistan's bureaucracy. We were on a studying tour here and we had us just briefing in this very hall. And so I never thought at that moment that I will re-emerge again here and will be speaking from this forum. But thank you very much, Ambassador, for giving me this opportunity. Actually, to begin with, I must say that in SCO we have several vehicles, and the topic today that you are discussing, climate change, is basically managed by our Department of Humanitarian Affairs, which has recently been taken over by my colleague from India. But since he's very new and here, so we thought that I would share with him some of the thoughts, and also I thought that it's a good occasion to see how my embassy is performing this occasion, which is a very important occasion. But this very friendly expressions as I'm exchanging with you. But I would like to wish all the participants which are present here today and this hall and this gathering a real success in their common endeavors to find ways and means for the cause, the mitigating of the climate, what everybody has said, climate carnage or revenge. And I'm going to share some of my random thoughts with you on this very subject. But I can't be that expert that people have already spoken before me. I'll just add my own thoughts. So the world at present are facing several challenges in the form of different crises and threats. There are no instant remedies to solve this global crisis, but we are mainly tuned up, as I always say, and she was there with me, to work in a catch-up mode. Once the thing happens, then we try to catch up with that thing in whatever the available means that we have with us. And that's not only my country, but most of the countries in the world, where the things are not very much organized, or where things are in a bit of capacity, where we require a bit of capacity buildup. The time has come to chart out new avenues to deliver public goods and services in the globally interconnected world. The way forward is to work in coordination and cooperation with all available resources, including latest technologies and their know-how. This cooperation must be leveraged first with the neighboring countries and beyond, and also, most importantly, with the developed countries. Climate change threatens not just the environment, but the ability of individuals, societies, governments, and economies to function and prosper. And I mean, when this all things happens, it means the question is focused on one thing which is called human security. It may be noted that humanitarian aid, said by her boss last time, cannot resolve the root cause of the crisis. Therefore, new ideas and approaches are to be tailored in the friendly environment for innovation and efficient disposition of crisis management. The choice to make decisions in urgent and emergent situations is not easy, as it involves logistics, transportation, and material assistance that entails financing. Many countries, including the developed Western countries and rich countries of Asia-Pacific region, are divided and quite on the issue of climate change, precisely for this reason. This was quite evident in the recently concluded debates at the 77th UNGA session, where even the South was divided, what to talk about North and South. As regards climate change, I think it is reaching its breaking point. The devastating consequences are already apparent, from wildfires to heat waves, droughts, hurricanes, and historic floods. These are exponential disasters from climate negligence. Developed countries are big emitters of carbon dioxide. They have pledged on several occasions about reduction in their emissions and have allocated a huge fund for helping developing countries to overcome this challenge. Yet no tangible steps is on the horizon. It's high time to pay serious attention to climate issues, and I must say that as far as SCO member states are concerned, they are giving importance to the green development to overcome negative consequences of climate change. They are working in two trajectories. Firstly, pushing cooperation in the sphere of alternate and renewable energy sources, and secondly, in preventing negative consequences of the climate change, which is reflected in the development strategy of SU up to 2025. Program for ecological development and welfare of the SCO cities, and concept of cooperation in the field of safety and environment. At the ecological arena, within the framework of SCO, permanent working groups are being established at the level of ministers and experts and senior level bureaucrats to discuss ecological security. There is also an action plan for 2022-2024 and for the development of green belt for climate correction and transition to the green economy. A program is being prepared for exchange of information on climate issues plus technical cooperation for facilitating green transition and prevention of air pollution, preservation of biodiversity, and ecological rehab. During the framework of recently held Samarkand Summit, which was on 15th and 16th of September this month, a joint statement of heads of state of the SU member states was adopted on reaction to climate change. Besides, in the same summit, a program for cooperation of SCO member states for use of alternate and renewable energy resources, focused on developing innovative technology to reduce anthropogenic weight. I hope understanding this word, anthropogenic weight, that's the weight created by human being on the planet in the surrounding atmosphere. Now we have a word, the devil is in the details, and so we also have to find a solution in that. We cannot prevent disasters, as mentioned here in the presentation, but because they are created by the nature. But together we can lessen their impact. And how to do that? I'm going to just read out a few things. How to integrate climate change adaptation and disaster risk management, how to frame the problem, how to frame possible solution, how to influence policies for resilience building and for vulnerability reduction. Community is the major stakeholder who live in risk-prone areas, understand their problems better than external interventions made by the policymakers or international donors. Use of SCO platform is to invite experts and expertise from the member states. when I say this, I just want to share with you that when this disaster happened in Pakistan, we sent a letter from the Secretariat asking whether the Secretariat can be of any assistance in coordination for providing immediate assistance in meeting the damage, meeting the requirement for correcting the damage. So unfortunately we did not get any quick response, but what we are suggested, our Secretary General has suggested in Samarkand is that we should have a sort of quick response center somewhere within the SCO countries in future to respond to such emergencies, climate emergencies that take place in any of the SCO countries. And as you know, SCO countries have already been expanded. Currently we are 21 member states and we are likely to be increased up to 25 by next year, with Iran joining as a full-fledged member and Belarus is on the way behind it. So this is something we would like to say, and I would also like to say that there is enough adequate expertise and ability among the SCO states like China and Russia. They have well-developed authorities and departments to meet such an emergency situation, both technically as well as on the humanitarian grounds, and we have received, as Ambassador has said, overwhelming and timely assistance from China, our friend. So my humble submission is that we all have to solve this problem. We cannot neglect anymore or become ignorant of climate changes or our duties to work towards this subject. And whatever way, I think the world now is ready enough to respond to the emergency situation like what we had in Pakistan, where every leader, almost every second leader, I would say, or have spoken in his speech at the UN 77 session of the UNGA. So with these thoughts, I just wanted to once again wish all the participants here to have a thought process, and especially the young officers and also people who are working in the organization, to like to work towards the issues related to climate change, to have more practical approach, and so that relief can be provided timely. Because you see, the relief can be provided in different ways. The government does not have enough financing to build, say, embankments or big dams or things like that. But at least some sort of assistance can be given in this way, in this very area or realm. So with these thoughts, I would once again thank you for your kind attention, and thank you very much once again, Mr. Ambassador, for your kind remarks, and everybody else for sharing their thoughts with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'm glad to know, in the last month, the SCO summit already reached agreement on the climate change, and I know more, we already have the group to do the action. And I also always hear my friend Dun to mention the SCO Shanghai Street. So I'm very glad to Shanghai Street is expand to the climate change area. So next, I want to invite the Ms. Graziella Piccoli, Deputy Head of Regional Delegation East Asia ICRC, please.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Manuel Hake, Dr. Wang Huyao, President of the CCG, Ms. Mabel Lu Miao, Secretary General of the CCG and founder of the GYLD, respective colleagues from international organizations, international regional organizations, the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me first to thank you most sincerely for inviting the International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, for this special event in solidarity with Pakistan, Global Youth Leaders Dialogue for Climate Change and Action, jointly organized by GYLD and the Pakistan Embassy in Beijing. I would like to say that I commend the Center for China and Globalization and the Embassy of Pakistan for this important initiative. The catastrophic floods that have devastated entire regions of Pakistan and affected tens of millions of people have shocked the world and drawn our renewed collective attention to the effects of climate change. The International Committee of the Red Cross has long been a guest in Pakistan. I have myself had the privilege of working there, and we are linked in solidarity with the population of Pakistan at this critical time. Indeed, the first reaction when faced with the images from Pakistan are the deep emotions that we feel for the lives lost, destinies shattered, and livelihoods devastated. We are all concerned when it comes to the consequences of climate change, and we have all reiterated that here. What has happened in Pakistan, along with several other dramatic climate events that we have seen over the past year, remind us that we have to act collectively. We have a responsibility to act and to act together. We have to be able to act together beyond some of the current tensions in the world to find answers to this existential challenge that we face. The Red Cross and Red Crescent movement in 2021 has set up a climate and environment charter for humanitarian organizations. Humanitarian organizations are invited to sign the charter to tackle, with the commitment to tackle the existential threat of climate change. As Ambassador Han, you have recalled the words of my head of delegation, we need new ideas, we need to be able to go beyond what has not worked and understand why it has not worked and move on. In Pakistan, our colleagues from the Pakistan Red Crescent Society and the volunteers of the Red Crescent Society deserve a great round of applause for this selfless work and commitment that they are doing, helping their own nationals. The International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, also in Pakistan, has been part of the important response that we have been providing to the victims of these dramatic floods. The International Committee of the Red Cross, the organization I represent, has also continued to support with logistic capabilities and resources. We feel very humble in face of the scale of this tragedy, but yet we are convinced that every effort and action counts. Ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of time, as I see we are running a bit beyond, I just want to reiterate once again how honored I feel by your invitation, and I would like to wish this event full success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Graziella, for your very enlightening speech. And as it was mentioned, definitely every action counts, and we are very grateful to ICRC for their continued engagement with Pakistan, especially in the current scenario. For our last keynote speech today, we have another great friend of Pakistan, Dr. Zhou Jinfeng, who Secretary General of China Biodiversity Conservation and Green Development Foundation, who along with his team have been working very closely with us and sharing ideas continuously. We also received your proposals after the flood, and we are very, very grateful for your support. Please, we would like to listen to you now. Thank you.
Your Excellency and the distinguished participants, I'm honored here to share our thoughts about Pakistan climate. Recently, I received an email from a professor from the U.S., Professor Jeffrey Sachs. He said, Pakistan, this year, what happens in Pakistan is not only a natural disaster, it's the high-income countries' responsibility. They build their economy, their infrastructure, their farms, their homes, and that resolve the problem, the recent climate problem. And if there is a climate call, Pakistan have a very solid case against those high-income countries. Yes, I totally agree. But also follow his idea. I think, what about me? What about us? Are we responsible for Pakistan's issues? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have extra food, we have waste of clothes, we have waste of extra packaging. There are many things. The climate justice should based on what? Yes, there are many countries levels issue, but from the civil society part, what we should do, what we should think about. We are born equal of carbon. All people on the planet are born equal of carbon. Carbon rights. We emit carbon and the carbon responsibility. This is today's disaster happened in Pakistan are all our responsibility. We need to change. That is what from our side, we people, including people in China, should start to change. We need to change our way of life. We need to change our way of production. And we do not have that natural resources. Not only climate emergency, but also biodiversity emergency. That's we all face. Everybody should be responsible to change. And we should participate to support Pakistan, to support all developing countries, to support, to change, to get the solution. The only solution is the human-based solution. We human must change. And that's my first point. My second point is, I want to say is, not only financially support to Pakistan are very important, but also technology transfer, but also all kinds of supports we need to participate, we need to work on. And so we, thanks to UNHCR, we started some program together with UNHCR to support with new green technology. And also, not only energy, but also agriculture, also about desert culture, and some agriculture in the dry land. All those technologies are very essential to us to fight climate, to support Pakistan. We also need all those efforts. Together we work with aerospace information institutes of Chinese Academy of Science to about locust forecast. And we work also with institutes of soil and water conservation of Chinese Kingdom of Science. We hope we can participate on the agriculture, nature-based agriculture. And hopefully starting today, we work with GYLD and more all international community, society, and as well as Chinese NGOs. We hope we can work together to start a day, to change ourselves, to participate on in the rebuild of Pakistan, especially after this not only natural disaster. Thank you.